quadrinhos. Eu sou a Mad Hall.
Eu sou o Teacher Gus.
E hoje nós estamos aqui para conversar com artista de quadrinhos, escritor, cartunista e o orgulhoso pai do nosso querido Earthworm Jim, Doug TenNapel.
E o Doug ele já começa a entrevista respondendo uma primeira pergunta pra gente. Então, Doug, diz aí pra nós, por favor. Por que no mundo de Mario e Sonics você decidiu criar e colocar uma minhoca? Né? De onde veio essa inspiração?
Well, in a world of Marios, it seemed like there needed to be more creativity in games. So I thought a quirky, fun hero would be a little better, and there's something about the weakness of an earthworm that is really cool. It makes him seem weak, and so his super suit that he lives in, it makes it even more strong. Like he can't live without it. That's the only reason that he's a hero. And he's super vulnerable inside. That just really appealed to me. And I like the oddness of it. Like it was, no one would think of doing a worm as a superhero. And I think there's a lot of that around, definitely like the Ninja Turtles, you know, a turtle is an ironic action hero because they're so slow and weird.
Essa é a história da minhoca Earthworm. Era uma vez uma roupa cibernética que caiu no planeta Terra em cima de quem? Bem no corpo magrinho de Earthworm. E olha só, ele virou uma super minhoca poderosa.
Prepare-se para as aventuras no planeta Hack, onde as lutas mais parecem de desenho animado e os inimigos são terríveis. Earthworm Jim para Mega Drive, entendeu? Ganha!
Você tem alguma preferência entre o Earthworm Jim e o Earthworm Jim 2? Por quê ou por que não?
I definitely have a preference for Earthworm Jim 1. It's just simpler and a little more elegant, although Jim 2 is definitely crazier and kind of, because we got away with Jim 1, we were really unleashed to do something really off the wall for Jim 2. I just don't know if in execution if it worked quite as well as that first game. Sometimes simpler is better.
As fases dos dois jogos parecem ser bem caóticas, assim, comparadas com as que existiam na época, né? Você poderia dizer um pouquinho sobre o background de algumas dessas fases? Eu tenho uma curiosidade em particular com qual foi o pensamento da fase em que o Jim se torna uma salamandra cega das cavernas, né? Ela parece assim uma fase bastante filosófica e tal, que a gente nem consegue compreender. Ou é só apenas uma jornada de uma salamandra, né? Que acontece, que ela é assim proficiente em shows de quiz.
Well, Earthworm Jim needed to have some kind of a crazy background or a world to live in, so that naturally allowed our minds to go way out there to put him in heck and put him in junkyard levels that don't act like junkyard levels, in alien stomachs and things like that. Especially with, the laboratory is pretty straightforward in the first game. In the second game with like the salamander, the blind cave salamander level, I'm a huge amphibian nut, so that was kind of my excuse to just put an amphibian in there. And of course, making him fly, or, it was just weird. It was us having fun. And I was lucky to have the support of Shiny and Dave Perry to get to do so much stupid stuff. And of course, the team just kind of went along with it. They go like, yeah, of course. Almost anything anyone came up with, if it was funny or a little bit strange, we usually went for it, or we would try it. Sometimes it would fail, sometimes it wouldn't. The actual villi, moving body part of the actual stomach lining, that came from a lot of different ideas, but I'm a huge fan of the Mobius comic, and in it there were these kind of worm things that, is it Azark, the guy that flies around on the bird that Mobius did? He's always flying over this whole planet of these little kind of things that would digest you. It made sense to me.
Tem alguma coisa na série do Earthworm Jim que você se arrepende de não ter feito?
Was there anything that I didn't regret doing? Most of my regrets came from what we did do that didn't quite work, more than what we didn't do. You know, there were a lot of regrets from myself and some of my team members in Gym too, that we didn't quite pull off what we wanted to pull off. And in that sense, if we just stuck to kind of a straight up platformer, it might have been a little better, even if the backgrounds were crazy, but we didn't change the gameplay so much. So I wish we'd kind of stuck to a little more original gameplay. I think in hindsight, we all know that probably would have made for a stronger game.
Na sua opinião, o humor, a sátira da série Earthworm Jim teria assim o mesmo impacto hoje em dia que teve na época do lançamento? Você acha que se fosse lançado hoje ele teria esse impacto?
Nowadays, I think if Jim was released, I think it would still hold because games haven't progressed as far as humor-wise goes very much. There's a few odd, you know, Southland tales and some weird humor in some games. I think it's still a unique thing if you come out with a slightly oddball, funny game these days. I think there's room for that and there's a need for it in games. So yeah, I think Earthworm Jim would work even if he came out today. He was ahead of his time, but the times haven't caught up to him yet, I believe.
Você tem alguma palavra para os fãs brasileiros? Talvez até alguma coisa vinda do próprio Jim? E você pensa de vir para o Brasil, talvez numa Brasil Game Show ou coisas do tipo?
Well, I do have some words for my Brazilian fans. It's thank you for loving Earthworm Jim. I think there's, you know, we're all kindred spirits. We're all brothers in our love for games and our love for humor. I would give you a hearty ow and groovy in the name of Jim. And would I come to a Brazilian game show? You bet I would. I love games and I love Brazil. So there.
Muito obrigado pelo seu tempo, pelo seu trabalho, que trouxe tantas memórias que a gente cultiva até hoje, apesar de meio malucas, né? Eu gostaria de aproveitar aqui a ocasião para dizer para você que está assistindo que você pode deixar comentários para o Doug aqui, que ele provavelmente verá, tá? E veja outras coisas do Doug também. Eu vou colocar aqui na tela e também na descrição sites que você pode visitar e conhecer mais a respeito dele. Inclusive, de repente, até para entrar em contato com ele, visto que ele tem um canal no YouTube aqui, tá certo? Um forte abraço para vocês. Muito obrigado, Doug, mais uma vez. E até a próxima. Bye, bye.
Well, to Gus and all the gang out there on the internet, I'd like to say thank you for playing the games. And this has been a really neat experience on this show, so thanks for having me on. Happy playing!